Well, it is that time once again to be taking a look at yet another 10th Doctor adventure with Big Finish. As in today's Doctor Who Big Finish audio drama review, I'm going to be taking a look at the latest 10th Doctor 2022 release, and that is 10th Doctor Classic Companions, featuring the 10th Doctor teaming up with some rather familiar faces from the classic series, including Ace, Nyssa and Leela. This release is available to order now on the Big Finish website in both physical CD and digital download formats, as well as being able to be purchased at the pre-order price for the first few months of release. This is in fact a rather exciting box set release because we have three kind of standalone adventures which are tied together with a very loose plot arc, but essentially it is a perfect release for those of you that haven't really listened to too much Big Finish and want to get on board with multiple classic series companions, because each episode contributes something different and exciting, as well as being some rather bold 10th Doctor stories which kind of go down a similar style to the rather highly popular Dalek Universe series, which plummets the 10th Doctor into rather new territories. And as always, it is lovely to see that David Tennant has become quite irregular with Big Finish, of course due to the situation with lockdown. I do believe that this was in fact the last box set that has been announced, that has been released from the lockdown sort of productions, so it is lovely once again to see more from the 10th Doctor, and fingers crossed there will be more to come in the future. So without further ado, let's get into these rather exciting Doctor Who adventures. The more I listened to Big Finish as a younger teenager, the more I gained confidence in the way that they create stories, their attention to detail, and of course most importantly, filling in the gaps. So I'd like to start off this review by saying any canon contradictory stuff regarding the return of Ace and other companions within the Centenary special is easily answered through the use of three magic words, and that is the Time War. After all, Doctor Who is a time travel show, and the person experiencing the drama can decide for themselves what goes into their own personal headcanon. But with this box set, a lot of care and attention to detail has gone into ensuring that these stories can coexist with other Doctor Who adventures. Splinter starts off the box set and it really sells this release's concept to me. John Dorney is of course a Big Finish regular, and his understanding of character as always draws out some truly beautiful moments. The Doctor, Leela and K9 unite once more as they venture through a forest, much like they did within the Face of Evil. Louise Jameson portrays the older version of Leela as seen within the likes of the War Doctor series, and once more it's a joy seeing how much this character has been developed at Big Finish, albeit through Doctor Who stories or the Gallifrey spin-off series. She's like a wise, mystical storyteller bookending this story's ideas with monologues of dreams, life and death. This really plays to the fairy tale theme that this story attempts to create. The Spridgeon is a mysterious creature born from Cornish folklore, who takes children away on their 18th birthday. The story really plays to that idea of grim fairy tales and good old baddies, which really kept me hooked. Especially within the early half of this story, we get to see this rather scary creature, quite frankly, haunting this household and these two parents who have just had a child. And it's a very sudden and scary way to open the story, but instantly got me intrigued. Tennant is absolutely on top form, and his energy is clear throughout each and every scene. A particular highlight for me was the Doctor finding K9 floating in space at the very start of the story. The bond and excitement is instantly brought alive by Tennant and Leeson's performances. The story provides for both new listeners with an easy story to follow, but also with some nice references to other Big Finish releases, which is a nice treat for the regular listeners who listen to the likes of the War Doctor series, Gallifrey and many of the other releases that Leela has featured within. The episode also allows for David Tennant to exercise his acting strengths in unexpected ways, and I shall leave that for you to find out yourself if you decide to listen to this release. But again, very much like the Dalek Universe series, we are seeing Big Finish shape their own era for the 10th Doctor. I think it's very clear that David Tennant is very comfortable by this point with recording with them, because he's able to do things that are new and different and again bring a rather interesting story to life. I think comparing all of the Doctor-companion dynamics seen within this series, with the exception of K9, I think that this relationship is quite an interesting one, because you have two characters that have moved on quite a lot in life to be very different people from what they initially were back in the likes of the Fourth Doctor era, but at the same time they kind of hold these core beliefs very close to their heart, so simultaneously they do get on very well, and there is lots of lovely callbacks to the era when they used to travel together. If anything, I think it is the most comfortable of Doctor and companion dynamics. So the second episode of this set is the Stunt Man, and this sees the Doctor and K9 continue their quest for the time anomaly, and this time they find Nyssa, but she does in fact go by an entirely different identity, known as Casey Ann, and she's a stunt woman who performs extreme action sequences in films and film productions. And to make matters even more unusual, she has absolutely no idea who the Doctor is, or her life before being a stunt professional. I think it is definitely the most experimental episode of this set, and as a listener, for some moments I didn't quite know what was going on, because the episode generally very much plays with reality and beliefs and personal perceptions and what a person is thinking within their mind. Of course, you have Nyssa, who doesn't quite know who the Doctor is for some reason, so naturally I was instantly intrigued, because the episode kind of did more than I was initially expecting. It's not simply an episode where the Doctor unites the companion, it does something different with that format, which instantly I respected. The behind the scenes for this box set basically sees David Tennant loving every single minute, reminiscing over memories from his childhood watching the show, and now he is performing alongside those actors, and I say this because that childlike sense of adventure inhabits all three episodes within this set. The production team aimed to create stories similar to that of School Reunion, and I think that so far it's definitely relishing in those exciting nostalgic ideas. Each story celebrates that particular companion's contribution to the Doctor's life, whilst also presenting what they've gone on to do after their adventures with the Doctor. Here is Nyssa working within the Time War, tracking down something which I won't say for spoilers, but she's driven by that passion to help others, very much like how she was when she was travelling alongside the Doctor in the TARDIS, even though perhaps in this story she doesn't quite realise what she is actually doing, and her mind has been ever so slightly distorted. What I also really want to praise this episode for is actually using K9 in a really effective way. It's kind of the opposite to Doctor Who Season 18, as that tended to get rid of K9 at any given opportunity. The narrative actually uses the whole concept of K9 being this highly developed artificial intelligence, and using his personality in a way which creates a very intriguing story. K9 is essentially the main focal point of this episode, and he is one of the reasons why the plot is developing in the way that it does, and I'm purposely being very, very ambiguous to kind of avoid spoilers, but I really do love the way that John Leeson has brought K9 to life, not only within this story, but generally in Big Finish. He's been developed far beyond this robot dog into an actual kind of, I want to say living and breathing, but he's not, this artificial intelligence with an actual personality and a drive to do something. If anything, in fact, John Leeson is one of the massive highlights for this set. He essentially ties all of these stories together. He's a thread woven throughout each individual story, and his acting strength really shines. The story also really utilises the audio drama format to its full potential, through the use of playing with reality with many different jumps in different locations, as if the characters are moving within different types of film genre. I think that this would be something that if it was a visual piece of media, it would be very, very expensive to try and replicate, but due to it being within the listener's mind, there is that lovely sense of this episode being very surreal, and I think everyone will picture this episode in a different way. Personally, for me, I was imagining almost those old style film reels and kind of the Doctor and the companion sort of hopping between them. But yeah, it's a really fun story and excellently brought to life by the main protagonists. Sarah Sutton in particular is also great as this different older version of Nyssa. I know that she's had other main range stories travelling with the Doctor whilst older, so I'm not quite sure where this fits in, but I'm really intrigued to see what Nyssa has gone on to do. She also played an incredibly strong role within the War Master series in a very haunting, horrific, sort of torturous story, which again, I absolutely loved that when I listened to it, so I highly recommend it. So yeah, another very strong story. As we move now on to the third and final story of this box set, I was also just like to mention within the behind the scenes, it did actually state that Big Finish currently have no plans to do a follow-up box set to this kind of theme that we have the 10th Doctor meeting classic companions, which I say this because I know as somebody who was initially getting into Big Finish a number of years ago, these standalone releases was something that really attracted me as a new listener because I could purchase the box set with the knowledge that there was no commitment to further box sets to be released in the future. This is one of those. You can purchase this knowing that you don't need to listen to any other box sets in the future or before this release in order to fully understand it. Quantum of Axos concludes the box set. I think it rounds off the series very well. This story reminded me of the Series 4 10th Doctor and Donna story, Partners in Crime, as we see two characters doing their own thing, having their own lives, but the events of the serial bring them both together. We've seen a few episodes now to feature Dorothy McShane as the leader of A Charitable Earth, and I think that this story further teases at that potential spin-off that Ace has. I honestly would not be surprised if Big Finish announced a series for release in 2023 after the airing of the Centenary special, because we've had so many teasers by this point, and this episode is excellent and is basically a series of so much potential, and I really hope it does happen. Dorothy is exciting in particular as there is a clear journey that her character has gone on from her first travels with the Doctor back in the 7th Doctor era. I wouldn't exactly say that her relationship with the 10th Doctor is an easy one like other Doctor companion relationships, as Dorothy has her own way of doing things and her own set of priorities, which I think that Sophie Aldred portrays excellently. A Charitable Earth is clearly very, very close to her heart, and she has used her adventures with the Doctor to build something positive to help the people on Earth. The episode gets going incredibly quickly with the introduction of an app from Pack Technologies, which can use a person's data to generate an image of what they looked like in the past, with scary amounts of accuracy. This sparks Dorothy's interest, so she decides to go to the company's launch event as a Charitable Earth representative. Meanwhile, the Doctor is tracking down further fallout from the Time War, which is where their paths decide to cross. Again, the episode is kind of littered with lots of lovely references, with the likes of, say, some scenes that parallel Sharda with the Doctor and K9 travelling in the river on a gondola, which I think is really lovely. But again, I think this story really shows how much David Tennant is having fun with the role, because I think that Roy Gill in this story has written him really, really well. K9 is also written really well throughout this story, and if anything, he's the linchpin which holds the stories together as a defined series. The first interaction between the Doctor and Dorothy is my favourite introduction within this set. It's beautifully written by Roy Gill and made me really excited to listen to the rest of the story. It was also interesting to see the return of the Axons, having been locked away and last seen within the 3rd Doctor adventure, The Claws of Axos. It's interesting seeing a classic creation utilise modern technology, which ultimately wouldn't have actually been around or even thought of when their initial appearance aired on TV. Again, I think that they are written very well, but to me the Axons could have easily been swapped out for another foe entirely. There wasn't really too much that made this an Axon-specific story. I must admit, I don't really remember much of the sort of minutiae details of the Claws of Axos, but they're kind of just a species with a general hive mind, which I thought was okay, don't get me wrong. Perhaps I'm not the biggest fan of the Axons as a creation, but I think it's still a decent story. It definitely doesn't detract overall from the episode itself. I still found it really enjoyable. I just think that the Axons could have easily been swapped out for another creation, as I say, entirely. All 3 episodes within this set are well-defined stories and are very enticing listens, and had I actually had a full afternoon spare to listen to this box set, I could have easily marathoned throughout its entirety within one sitting, but I think the fact that I kind of listened to it sparingly with 1 episode a day made me appreciate the episodes more. After all, it is only 3 episodes long, so perhaps if you are wanting to buy this box set, maybe savour it. Savour it for listening over a few days or weeks between other Big Finish listens in order to fully enjoy what this box set presents. So there we have it, that is my review of the 10th Doctor box set, 10th Doctor Classic Companions. Another brilliant listen, contributing to the new series canon, and again, it's lovely to have, admittedly, a little bit of fan service, seeing the 10th Doctor meet up with some rather familiar faces from the classic series. I think that this episode as an overall package is incredibly strong, and if you are somebody who is wanting to get into Big Finish, I think that this is in fact a perfect box set, again, with no other ties of commitment to other releases. This is a great box set to simply purchase and enjoy in isolation without needing to worry about various plot arcs. Yes, there is that little thread that ties all of the stories together with relation to time fallout, but it really isn't that complex, and you could easily listen to this box set over a large period of time and get the gist. If anything, all 3 stories do something different, exciting, and of course it's great to see the 10th Doctor interact with these people that we've listened to on Big Finish for many years. So thank you very much for watching this review. I really hope you have enjoyed it. Do of course stay tuned on The Host Productions for regular Big Finish audio drama reviews. Have a nice day. I shall see you all next time.